If it feels like after Black Ops 7 released, you can't win a gunfight, skill-based matchmaking is still in the game, this video is going to help you out a lot. I'll be going over my settings, classes, how to adjust to all the new things in the game, and how to improve and get the edge over everyone else. As someone who's been playing Call of Duty for years and is already Prestige 2 after playing for 2 days, I think I'll probably show you some things you never even knew were in the game. So we're going to start off with the settings here first. A quick disclaimer before we get into my settings, these are always bound to change, and most importantly, what feels best to you is what matters the most. So if you want to make sure you're up to date with all my settings, classes, even everything I use in my setup, make sure to go to futives.com where I have all my settings, classes, and even my entire setup there. So first what we're going to do is we're going to get into controller, and I play this game on both PS5, Xbox, and PC, so this should apply to all of them, but again, you can always check the website to see them updated. My controller does have paddles, so I do play the default button layout. My sensitivity going to this game is 1.75, which you might not think is super high, but it is higher than I was playing near the end of Black Ops 6, and I'll talk about why I actually made it higher later, but I do play 1.75 on both. All of these being off, controller vibration off, trigger effect off, and what's the most important here and that you should never skip is the dead zone inputs. For dead zone inputs, I have my left stick minimum on 0, but if you do have a little bit of stick drift, which you can test here, you can see mine at the max is 5, which isn't a big deal. If it's really crazy, you can turn it up till it's bearable, but playing with the lowest left stick minimal is very important, but I'll get into why that is later. For my left stick max, I do 65. You can play with this between 65 and 75. This is preference, but what this does is it basically tells the game how much of my stick do I need to push forward for it to go maximal speed. And then for the right stick minimum, I do play 3 in this game, and the reason you don't want it on 0, you don't want to go full speed trying to make a micro adjustment. Like let's say someone's close to you, so you don't want to overshoot, you won't have to move your right stick as far, but it's not too high to where it'll be not sensitive at all. And my right stick max is at 90, which is basically the same reason. I want to be able to make adjustments a little bit faster. I don't want to have to wait too long to get to that max input, but again, I don't want it too low. 90 is my sweet spot. You can always test this again if you want. You can do 99, but 90 is something I've been using since near the end of Black Ops 6. For left trigger, I have these on 0 since I have those clicky triggers, but if you have a default controller, I'd probably put these at 1. The most important thing you'll probably find here is in the aiming advanced setting. I have my ADS sensitivity transition timing on instant, which means as soon as you hit that left trigger, that new sensitivity that I have for custom sensitivity presume will immediately kick in. Before we get to that, another important thing here is dynamic. Have dynamic at default settings, which is 1.0, which will basically make it where if you barely move your stick, it'll be a little bit slower. So if you're trying to be very accurate at long ranges, it'll be slower while you're micro adjusting. But if someone's really close to you and you need to make a really big adjustment, it'll get faster over time. So I recommend dynamic. And for the custom sensitivity per zoom, I use 0.95, 1, 1.10, 1.25 for everything higher, which is usually going to be something like a sniper scope, but I would definitely keep this on at 0.95 or 0.90 at the lowest, because you don't want it to be way too slow when you ADS, so it's a little bit more consistent. Next, obviously you want to have an aim assist on. Nothing else there matters, and this is where you get into the movement tab. You want to have tactical sprint assist on, and you want to have this at 0 with both these on, mantle assist off, crouch assist off, corner slice off. That one's a little bit more of a preference type of thing, but I don't really like how it looks, but it doesn't affect how your gun aims or anything like that. I have all the assists off for the most part, and another thing that's important is hybrid. Especially if you play a lot of Warzone, hybrid is going to be the best thing you possibly use because it gives you the easiest option of sliding and diving whenever you want. Next, we have automatic airborne mantle on partial, sprint restore, and these on. We don't want to parachute automatically, wingsuit manual. And then for wall jump activation, I actually really like hold this here. You don't have to keep pressing X, and if you're someone who doesn't have paddles or plays claw, this is going to be much easier for you as well. And for this, I have tap to slide, first person for the roll camera, and movement advanced settings. Auto door peek I like, but I don't think it really matters in this game because I don't think there are any doors like that. It might be a big deal in Warzone, but for this, it shouldn't be a big deal. Grounded mantle off. Plunging underwater, we want that on free. Nothing else here will really matter. Something I like to do in combat is having my body shield finishing move behavior on body shield only, because it'll make it easier to get that guaranteed body shield that you can then turn into a finishing move or just keep it as a body shield. Next thing that you're going to want to look into is combat advanced settings. Here, you're going to want to have prioritize interact on. It'll make it so basically whenever you hover over a gun, you just have to tap it to pick it up, or if you're playing Warzone, for example, tap it to open a box. If you need to reload, you tap it to reload unless you're hovering over something like a gun or a box, something you can interact with, then you'll have to hold your square button to reload. It can be kind of annoying in those situations, but it's pretty rare. Nothing else here really matters too much, and everything else here should be good. The next thing that I'm gonna get into is graphics. If you're on console, all you really want to make sure you have here is 120 hertz mode on, the eco mode on efficiency so your PS5 isn't getting hot for no reason, and make sure fidelity cast FX is on 100 with all the motion blur, all the depth of field off. For PC players, if you're on controller, make sure you're playing on full screen exclusive. If you're playing controller and you're on full screen borderless or something like that, the input delay you get is much worse. And for NVIDIA reflex low latency, you want to have this on or on plus boost. That's dependent on how good your CPU and GPU is, but I play with on plus boost. Everything else down here doesn't matter too much. I have my frame rate at unlimited, HDR is off. And this is where we get into the graphics, which is actually going to be very different this year if you're on PC. So if you're on PC, you want to make sure instead of fidelity FX, you want to have NVIDIA DLSS and put that on quality, which will make it look the best as possible. And you want NVIDIA DLSS sharpness on 100 with the model on transformer. Now you might think, won't this make my game look blurrier? Won't it add more input delay? And no, it won't add more input delay, and it'll actually make your game look much sharper than fidelity FX cast. For whatever reason, this game has a really weird bug where if you have anything else on except this, whenever you're moving, the game will look really blurry and weird until you stop moving your camera and your character. So this right now is the only way I was able to find out how to fix it, and it runs the exact same, if not better than it was before. But again, if this ever does change, you'll be able to check my website and see what I'm currently using right now. For my VRAM scale target, I have a lot of VRAM to work with, so I have it on 90. If you don't have that much to work with, maybe have it on 80 or 70, but 90 should work for 99% of you. For texture resolution, I'm trying to have my settings be as competitive as possible, but I will give you the nicer graphic options if you want that little bit of in between, which I tend to go back and forth with. But if you want the best performance and the best visibility, I'll show you that here. So for texture resolution, you want to have it on normal. If you want it to look better, I put that on high. Same thing with the texture filter setting. I have it on low for a little bit better input delay, but if you want, you can have it on high or ultra, and it won't really affect your frames, but it will make your GPU work a little bit harder. Depth of field you want off, detail low. Basically, all of these are going to be on low or off. I do have my bullet impacts on. I like to see where my bullets are going or be able to track my recoil. Persistent effects off. Shader quality, I have it on low, but honestly, medium or high, and even medium is fine. It makes things not stick out as much, so if you're a competitive player, you might not want this, but it does make things look a lot better. Medium or high is good for that. And again, if you want the most competitive settings, you want to have this on minimal, low, on, and then with the limit of 1. But I like to have it on optimize with this all the way up and the limit off. These low. This you might want to change because it might make like campaign cutscenes look low quality or zombies cutscenes look low quality. But again, these are the competitive best settings right now. Shadow quality on low. Screen space shadows you can turn off, but you can turn on low or high again if you want to make the game look prettier. This off, low. Basically everything else low or off. But again, if you want to make your game look better and not impact it too much, screen space shadows, on-demand texture streaming, shader quality, and your overall texture resolution is gonna make a big difference. And here we get to the view graphic settings. FOV, the sweet spot I would recommend is anywhere from 90 to 107. If you've never played Call of Duty before or you don't really mess with the FOV, my baseline recommendation is 103. If you are a Warzone player or you like to have a higher FOV, I'd recommend 110 to 120. But with the way they've changed aim assist this year, I've been playing on 110 for now. ADS field of view affected, weapon field of view wide, it looks really nice. And then you want to make sure weapon motion blur, all these are off to the lowest setting. It'll make your game look as static as possible. If you want to have better eyesight when you're older, I would definitely turn on inverted flashbang. Next, we're going to go into the audio. This one isn't going to be that long at all. So for audio, you can turn off the music, turn off the cinematic music, and have dialogue at 50% or 30% so the announcer isn't too loud. For speaker output, I do stereo. I do not use enhanced headphone mode. I'm not a huge fan of it. And for the audio mix, you want headphone bass cut. It'll make footsteps a little bit easier to hear, and it won't sound like you're in a Michael Bay movie. Nothing else here is really going to matter except reduce tinnitus sound. And if you want to get really sweaty, let's say you're playing Warzone or something, you want to hear every footstep, every sound cue, you can turn off the hit markers because again, that's an extra sound on top of footsteps that you're hearing when you're shooting at people. I don't care that much, but it is definitely something you could do. Next, we're gonna get into interface. So for interface, you want to skip the introduction movie. You're on PC, so you don't have to see that every time you open the game. For color customization, this is the best way to make your game look a million times better. So what you want to do to see enemy name tags a little bit better, you want to go to custom colors. Make sure you use all the way to the left, saturation all the way to the right, brightness all the way to the right, so it's as red and as bright as possible. For my own character, I like to do black just because it looks cool, but I really wouldn't recommend changing anything else here. But something else that is going to change your game immensely is the color filter. You want to put it on 2, have color filter target be on both, and you want to have the intensity for both be on 100. This will make the colors in game so much more vibrant. This is a great way to see what a difference it makes. When I go there, it's more dull. Here, it's much more bright. Next, we're gonna get into the gameplay HUD. Scale is preference. If you feel like the HUD is taking up too much of your screen, you could put it lower. If you want things like your mini map and other HUD elements to be bigger, you can do the max to the right, but I've just been keeping it on default. For HUD bounds, I like to have it as small as possible, or at least the horizontal as small as possible. The issue with doing your vertical as small as possible is sometimes text from in-game will cover the middle of your screen. So this I would mess with and see what's comfortable for you, but a good baseline is making it as compressed as possible. That way you won't have to look up too far to the left to see your minimap. Next, we're gonna have radar off, minimap rotation on, compass is good. I don't like to have the crosshair lens on. I like to use my crosshair dot only, and I'll get into that later. Nothing else here will really matter too much, and then that's basically it. If you really want to get super sweaty with it, you can go to account and network, and you can turn off dismemberment and gore effects. Because let's say you have a tracer in game. If you have this setting on, and let's say that tracer has a kill effect, in Black Ops 6, the Squid Games when it showed X over the dead body you killed, that could potentially cover an enemy coming around the corner. So I like to have it off, and it might save you a little bit of frames with all those effects not being shown to you. Now, we're gonna get into the classes and a bunch of tips that will help you guys immensely. First, we'll get into the classes. So right now, SMGs are pretty terrible in this game. My recommendations, if you're just getting into the game, is to use the M15. For the muzzle, I have the RL55-6 brake. The underbarrel, I have the access shift vertical foregrip, the hex cut grip, the wander, this ammo mod. Now, to get this ammo mod, you do have to prestige the gun once. So if you don't have that, you can just put on the fusion barrel and it'll be fine. And if you want the updated classes, because this game is just coming out, I will have them on my website. For my wildcard, I've been using specialist. This is the exact same specialist we had in 2019. So you get to pick extra perks, and once you hit a certain amount of score, you get every single perk in the game, which is extremely good, especially if you're going for nukes or playing something like S&D where score streaks might not matter as much. So for my secondary, I really like the Velox 5.7. It's like the B23R or the RK5 from older Call of Duties. I have the Grease 5.7 brake. For the barrel, the 5.2 LX3M barrel. I have the Extended Mag 2, Pernanial grip, and I have overpressure. And again, these will always be on my website. For the field upgrade, I have 2 recommendations. If you're playing S&D, active camo is going to be your best bet. If you're playing respawn or even S&D, drone pod is insanely good and insanely annoying. Basically what happens is you put this down, it'll go fly to enemies and either hurt them, kill them, or just tell you where they are exactly. Next, I use the stim shot and the Semtex. And for my class, I have the lightweight, fast hands, and bankroll. And the reason I have bankroll is because I'm using specialist. If you don't have specialist unlocked, you can use dexterity, which you'll get eventually. But basically, when you have bankroll on, you'll be 50 points away from getting your ninja perk off rip. So it's basically like having perk greed to have lightweight and ninja off rip in S&D. And lightweight is extremely important. If you have a prestige token, I would really recommend using it on either lightweight or specialist or something like that, because those are going to benefit you very, very much long term. Next class we're going to get into is the AK-27. And like I said, this is a very assault rifle heavy game. Everything else down here is going to be the same, but here we're going to get into the attachments. We're going to be putting the ELO on it, the Eclipse 7.62 brake, the Iron Hold Angle, which is a great grip on a lot of weapons, the advanced grip, and again, this fire mod. If you don't have this fire mod, you can put a barrel on it. You can put maybe a laser on it. The lasers in this game are pretty good. This one gives you recoil stabilization and damage range. Pick a baseline for the class and change it to your own preferences. Next, we're gonna get to the MXR 17, and this gun is disgusting. If you're able to prestige it, you can put on this ammo type that makes it a 2-bullet and 3-bullet at all times. It basically turns it into the FAL, and it is absolutely disgusting. Now I have the suppressor on it, the damage range barrel, the magazine, and the area assault grip. On top of the Lux stock so I can strafe on it. Next, we're gonna get into the first SMG, the MPC-25. And now this one is not one I would recommend to everyone, since this gun has extremely punishing recoil. I have the K&S brake on it, the zero shift hand stop, the Phonetic adaptive grip, the K1 pedal stock, and the agile laser. I'll get into why SMGs are a little bit bad later in the video, but that's the current class I have for that as well. Next, we get into the M8. The M8 is still very powerful in this game. I wouldn't say it's better than assault rifles, since the main drawback of this is that if you don't kill them in that first burst, that assault rifle has a lot of time to kill you. For this, I use the ELO RL 5.56 brake, the Iron Hold angled grip, the K&S raised grip, and a Swiftline stock. Next, we have the DSR 50, aka the VS Recon. For this, you want to put as much ADS stuff as possible. So I have the Nimbus barrel, the R1 shelf grip, the stable heavy pad, because this is going to be very important if you're sniping an S&D. You want to make sure you're on target while they're shooting you so you don't miss. And you want this instinct laser since it gives you better ADS as well as a light bolt, which allows you to shoot faster, especially if you miss. And for the last gun, I have the Carbon 57. This is honestly interchangeable with the Dravec, which I also have a class for on my website. But again, I wouldn't really recommend SMGs at this point in time. For the muzzle, I have the KNS compensator, the Sapper Guard, the Bombas Quick Grip for the rear grip, the Hammer Platoon Pad, and the Agile Laser again. And now we're gonna get into how you can actually improve in the game, because class and settings are not enough. Before we get into a lot of the tips, if you're just wondering how you can get better at the game, period, my best advice to you is to play the game. Even if you're not playing pubs, what you can do every day is create a routine for yourself. Let's say you want to shoot 100 bots a day, 500 bots a day, or even 1,000 bots a day. Your best bet is to go into TDM, since right now in free-for-all you can't add bots. So when you pick TDM, you go to the team 2, put on 11 bots, put them on recruit, and then you want to go on the Black Cart map. Nuketown might be out later. You can choose the maps you want to play. If you want to get better with ARs, maybe do a longer range map. But I like the smaller map since it gets you in the most engagements as possible and it gets your shot extra warm. For the rules, you want to do as long as you can, as many points as you want. And then you want to have your health regeneration on fast, kill cam off, radar always on a directional. And then over on gameplay, you want to make sure field upgrades are off. You want to make sure score streaks are off. And that's basically it. Then you just go into the game, you shoot bots. And a lot of people tell me, hey, should I turn off my aim assist for this? I really wouldn't recommend it. I used to say no because aim assist was so strong, but aim assist has been nerfed. If you really feel like it'll help you, you can turn it off, but it's something I just wouldn't recommend, since again, you want to have muscle memory from playing the game every single day, and turning off aim assist might help your raw aim be better, but it could mess you up in certain situations. So I'd recommend doing this with aim assist on, just playing how you normally would with the classes you normally would, just shooting bots every day, rinse and repeat, and eventually you'll start to see your aim improve time over time, but that's not the only way you can get better. A big part of Call of Duty is aim, but now we're gonna get into the biggest part of improving at Call of Duty, and that's how you play the game and how you can be as efficient as possible. So one of the most important things in Call of Duty is your centering. So the reason I have my crosshair off and this dot on, you don't want to be running around looking at the floor. You want to keep this dot where you think an enemy will be. So when you're turning this corner, you want to have it up, because you know a person will be right here. While you're going up, turn it to the left, and since someone can be there, you can clear the corner, and you have that dot always sent to where they can be. You don't have to have it super high since you can prone and crouch in this game, but a good rule of thumb is to have the center of your screen where you think an enemy will always be. You don't want to be running around looking at the ground, and you also want to be challenging these as if you know someone's going to be there. So for example, slide up here, aim, slide to the right and look here because someone can be there. You can go up, slide to the left, go that. You can slow clear things if you want and just expect someone to be there, because the more you play the game, the more you'll memorize where people like to sit, especially on some of these maps. So here's going to be a great example of where people like to peek out into your spawn. One of the most common things on this map, especially at the very beginning of the game, is both teams challenge here and here. So you can see I have a dummy right here. So one thing people might do is just run out like this. This is going to make it super easy for someone who got there first to instantly kill you. There's some movement things you can do to really help getting a jump on these enemies. The most default thing you can do is just slide, aim, and chow. Something a lot of people have been picking up on, especially since BO6, is the jump slide chow. So this gives you a little bit more momentum. You could jump, slide, and then jump again, and it'll definitely break their aim assist and it'll make it much harder to kill you. And again, you'll always have that jump on the enemy because you're going to be ADS the entire time. But do keep in mind when you're jumping, especially without dexterity, your gun will bounce a lot more. But it's something you should definitely keep in mind. And more importantly than anything, if you don't want to have to take a 50-50 on everything, you can do a lot of things in this game movement-wise to get information. Now, this one might be a little bit dumb. This is definitely a bad example, but wall bouncing to jump over is something you could do that's great for information. But if someone's expecting it, you could die very quickly because you're just jumping up in the air and you don't have that range of movement you do when you slide. Because like you could slide and prone like that and you could still see the tip of his head. So I wouldn't do that more than once, especially if the enemy sees you. But it's something you could do that's very important. And one of the best things you've been able to do in Call of Duty for a long time to get free information is something called snaking. And snaking is basically when, if you have auto tac sprint or auto sprint on especially, it's very easy. What you want to do is move your stick forward and backwards, straight forward and backwards while holding your prone button. And because you have that auto sprint on, you don't even have to press X to get up. You're just instantly getting up and down. And since I have a paddle, I'm just holding my paddle down, which prones me, because right now I'm not even using my paddle and able to do it. And as you can see here, instead of just standing at this head glitch, he's able to do that back and forth, and it's very hard to see him. Shooting the tip of someone's head versus shooting their entire body while they're standing still is very different. And you can see here I'm not getting as much aim assist as I would on someone who's just standing up out in the open. So this is super important if you want to play your life and get as much information as possible. And there's different head glitches that have more cover that are even better at this. Like right here, you can do that as well. And let's say you're trying to hold someone coming at you. One of the craziest things you can do to never lose that gunfight is doing something called stair glitching. So you can see right there, he's head glitching. I can only see the top of his head. What's even crazier is proning and only showing the part of your screen where you know someone can show up at. And on their screen, they're only going to see the tip of your head. Now that the roles are reversed, I can only see the tip of his head and he can see my entire body. This is probably the hardest thing in the game to kill, and if you want a guaranteed kill, this will get you it almost every single time. As you can see, that's super hard for me to win. If that guy wanted to kill me, he could do it over and over and over again. And especially if you're not on a height difference here, this one's really hard to win. Let's say I slide out here expecting someone to be here and he's right there. It's going to be super hard to see him and super hard to react. And if you want to learn how to get information, probably the safest and fastest way, there's something called shouldering, which just means you only throw your right shoulder and you just go back and forth. If you're only showing a tiny part of your body, they won't be able to kill you as fast. And in Call of Duty, your character sees out of the right side of their body. Your character doesn't see out of his head, he sees out of his right shoulder. So when you're shouldering it, if you want to do it in the most optimal way, you want to shoulder with the wall being on your left and your shoulder peeking out from your right. So like that, I can just go back and forth, back and forth. And again, I wouldn't do this too often. If you see an enemy, that's information you already have. If they want, they can just pre-fire you and they will eventually kill you, especially if this wall is wall bangable. And that's where we get into part 2 of knowing when to chow something. If you want to make sure you win every gunfight, you have to play for guaranteed kills. And that's where something like snaking and shouldering get into, because now you have that information and maybe hit a flank, but you shouldn't just fly out and chow everything. Having this information is good, but you actually have to play to actually get better. You can know all this or shoot as many bosses you want a day, but if you're not actually putting these into effect, it's not gonna matter. And getting to power positions is something that's very important. So when you're off spawn, instead of running out with your assault rifle or your pistol, you want to make sure you take out your dedicated melee weapon. So for example, a power position on this map could be this right side of the map here. You have that height advantage as well as a head glitch. So you want to get here as fast as possible, slide in, look there, look there, look there, where the enemies might actually be, and hold this position. If you're running out slower, they might beat you there, they might kill you while you peek. There's a lot of things that matter, and again, that's something you're going to learn while playing the game. That's learning rush routes, learning the timings of both teams, where you spawn. There's a lot of things that go into it that I don't think I can really go deep into. If you guys want me to, I can make a separate video on it, but it's not something I'm going to go over too much here. It's something we can get into next, which is playing head glitches and how to move around the map. So when you spawn in, if you don't want to get to this power position up here and just kind of sit there, what you can do is slide from head glitch to head glitch to still move up around the map while still playing for gunfights that are very advantageous for you. So basically, you slide up to this head glitch, you have that information, boom, boom, because again, it's going to be really hard to kill you off these. If you don't think there's anyone here or you want to still get more control of the map, move up to this one, move up to this one, look here. Basically just move around the map expecting where people to go and try to play as many head glitches as possible and holding preem as much as possible while still keeping your speed, keeping your pace, slide proning, all that good stuff. But head glitches are always going to be your best friend. You either want a head glitch, stair glitch, or get information at all times. Next, we're going to get into how to win more gunfights by raw aim. Most importantly, how to abuse aim assist. And this Call of Duty, they have nerfed aim assist much more than any game we've had in a long time. One of the biggest changes they've made is nerfing aim assist at close range. So the closer you are to someone, the harder it is going to be to track them if they're moving around. Before, your aim would basically track them the entire time. It's much less now. I'm getting almost no aim assist. But if you've watched my other tip videos before, the way to maximize your aim assist is to have your left stick moving at all times. So you can see there it's moving a little bit, not as much as the older CODs, but moving your stick in any direction is going to give you the most amount of aim assist. But again, you can still see close range. It's not giving you that much. It's almost no difference. That's why you want your left stick dead zone as low as possible and your left stick max as low as comfortably possible for you. The way they've changed aim assist this year is when someone is moving around, you have to move your stick in the direction of them. So I'm barely moving my right stick, but I'm moving my right stick in the direction he's going. So since he's strafing to the right, I move my stick to the right. Since he's strafing to the left, I do the same thing. But again, that's going to be much harder, especially if you're moving, they're moving, there's a bunch of things going on. And it's not going to be as easy as it looks. And for some weird reason, but that's why assault rifles are much, much better. And I'll show you here why in a second. When you have an assault rifle, you have almost no recoil, fast fire rates, and high damage, especially at range. And for something like the MSMC here, you'll see that the recoil is crazy high. This gun shoots very slow, and these are with recoil attachments on. Even controlling it, it's very, very jumpy. So it's not like Black Ops 6 anymore. You have that Jackal and you can have max aim assist at long range. It's super easy to beam. It's much harder. I think they're trying to nerf SMGs in that sense. So they nerfed aim assist, they nerfed the range, they nerfed the recoil. So your best bet is going to be using an assault rifle. I would definitely not recommend using the SMGs, and the MPC is very good at close range. You kill extremely quick, but again, you're going to have to close that gap, and that's where movement comes into it. You need to slide around, jump slide. You need to be channeling quick. You always need to have that first jump, because they can still beat you at close range with assault rifles if you even miss a bullet. So SMGs in this game take much more skill than ever before, because not everyone's just going to be sitting out in the open. People are also going to be using these against you. People are going to be jumping across walls. People are going to be sliding out. People are going to be snaking. People will do whatever it takes. It's Call of Duty in 2025. Something that's very important in this game, especially if you're using an SMG, is catching people off guard, because again, you need to close those gaps, and that's where you do something called cameraing, which basically means it's very hard for someone to track you. That can mean sliding into them, jumping into them close, and basically making it impossible to track you. And one of the best ways you can do that now is by doing something called a slide to prone. So if someone's right here, I can just slide out and be like this, and no one's really going to be aiming at the ground. That's not something that's super optimal. So when you do that, it's going to be very hard to track, and I'll show you what it looks like on the receiving end. So right there, if I'm aiming at someone farther down or trying to aim at a head glitch, it's going to be super hard to track. Probably the best way of showing what a broken camera looks like is right now, if there's like a little ledge here or something to hit your head, you can wall bounce off something like that and then jump and slide, and it'll look absolutely insane on your screen. So again, go up against a wall that has something that'll hit your head, jump up, wall bounce, slide, and jump again. There, the momentum wasn't great, but this is what it'll look like on an enemy screen. It literally looks like you're moonwalking across their screen, which is going to be really hard for you to track. Again, it's very situational, and that's the whole point of this. You're trying to play to make something that's usually predictable very unpredictable. And that's why when you start to develop your own route, you'll be able to make your own playstyle work for you. Really just playing the game and trying to actually look for things and learn. Obviously, you're not going to be able to know everything, which is why my website's always going to be there to help you. If you have any more questions, you guys can always catch me live at twitch.tv/Futives. I'll always be there to answer your questions. I also do sub games if you want to play and watch me in real time. And again, the website will always be there with the newest class setups, the newest settings, and everything I use in my own real life setup if you ever want to see those as well and maybe try them out for yourself. If there's anything I missed, or if you guys want me to go in depth with any maps, any game modes, anything like that, even a ranked play, make sure to leave a like on the video and comment what you would like to see down below. But that's basically it for now. We're only 2 days in, so I'll see you guys in the next video.